Perks and Hobo. Place in the Crap podcast. Perks, Hobo.
Hi, sir.
Face in the Crowd podcast.
Nice to meet you, chaps.
And you, sir.
Relaxing, I take it, this last year, like all of us.
Living Cabida Loca, man. That's what we've been doing. yeah, it's kind of it's a weird, kind of strange, kind of psychological pressure on people, isn't it? It's a very back in the like early 2000s, I was under house arrest for 6 months. And they come around and they kind of put this thing that looks like a shitty kind of 70s digital watch around your foot. And they put up like a wireless guitar rig sort of thing where they got the two aerials and they stick that in your house. And then you walk you around the house and see how far you can go outside the door and that. But even that for 6 months, they let me out after 12 o'clock. You know what I mean? So,
now you've got an invisible one on you now. We all have.
Everyone's on tag. Everyone's on tag.
That's it. Crazy.
I heard about these tags they're bringing out soon where if you drink alcohol, like warning noises go off and all that, and they get alerted at the police station if you take one sip.
Yeah,
that's a new thing. They're going to put an alcohol tag around your leg.
Is that kind of like digital for anti-abuse or something? So you just like, you have a drink and you throw your guts up and it grasses you up as well. That's great.
Like, it won't be long before it's like Total Recall and you get to like the border and your head explodes.
Yeah.
No, that's Running Man, wasn't it?
Running Man, yeah.
Running on Total Recall.
I finally made it. Boom. Yeah, no you didn't. Yeah. Fucking hell, man. Yeah.
You've been busy musically? Have you done any...
I've been
calling or shifting for anything?
Yeah, I've just been I've been working on like collaboration with some friends, and that's coming along pretty well. It's just like it's a different way of working these days because you're kind of like you're really consolidating files a lot of the time. So you're sitting a bit of a kind of secretary to yourself, you know, and sitting there getting the best things. Because if you're doing file shares, which is the only way we can really fucking do music at the moment, so you got to make your files good. When you're going to share them, they've got to be good quality and they've got to be, you know, in a format someone else, if they wants to add something at the other end, they can add. Because you can add things, but you can't take away from something, you know. So that's what I've been doing lately, really. That's just...
what sort of theme would that be? What sort of style of music is that?
The foul-smelling punk rock, you know.
Yeah.
I seem to have become regionally proficient at it by now. So, and I now kind of like when I first got a computer, which is about 2009, 2010. You used to get like Pro Tools, but you used to get it on a disc, and you know you could kind of get one disc and you could burn it off for all your mates. You know, they could put it on their computer, but now it's all tightened up. I remember Roy gave me a copy of Pro Tools, and I was kind of like, oh, this is just. I don't know. I thought that was really fucking exciting and punk rock. The whole thing that it kind of democratized the whole process of it. If you've got the you know, the wherewithal and you want to know and you can learn about it on YouTube and all that shit. So I mean, YouTube has been a huge help to me to learn how to, you know, it's like kind of record and mix your own music. That's fucking the basis of punk rock. Basically, the idea of it is you could be a kid sat in your bedroom and in theory you could make a huge hit. You know, you could make a fucking huge hit record, and
most of the times. Yeah,
if you knew what you're doing, but you can learn to do it now, so that's cool. Yeah, so
it's interesting pinging files across to each other and then adding bits and pinging it back and gradually making the song, you know, even across continents and stuff. It's
I like
cool, isn't it? Really,
I think it's one of the upsides of the computer thing, really, isn't it? You know, you think like. There's a whole downside, the fucking constant, you know, harassment and the way you have to you're like a slave to your computer. Please upgrade me now. You know, it's like, oh, fuck's sake. I thought they were supposed to be serving me and I'm sitting here going, oh, install upgrade, install update. Why the fuck am I doing that? Why isn't it doing it itself? You know what I mean?
Every other day, innit? An upgrade.
Yeah. Oh, you need a new update. Oh, you can't work this. Oh, now you've got this new update. The stuff you did have is all fucked up and doesn't work anymore. So you've got to get a new one of that as well. Everything's like that, you know? But on the positive side, you know, the file sharing thing, if you can kind of work out what you're doing between a group of people. So I've got like 3 or 4 people involved in this thing. It's okay. Send me a bass riff. Cool. What speed's it at? 130 BPM. Stick it in a session this end. Okay. Plug in and play along to it. Record that. Program some drums to it for now. And then you've got the kind of bass to the song. You're working out this kind of a idea, like verse, chorus, intro or whatever. And you can kind of move it around. But also even kind of using crappy program drums, you can kind of get a feel what it'd be like with real drums. So that's kind of cool. I kind of enjoy that. It's been a kind of steep learning curve from being completely computer illiterate, like, 10 or 12 years ago, to being reasonably good at it now. Or doing my own thing. I'm, doing stuff, so I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like a buzz. You put this track together, you're not even in the same room together. It's kind of exciting. You think, wow. And it sounds like you're in the same room together because you tried to make it with that band feeling, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And who would get the final mix on that? Who would get the final say on how that's going to sound in the end? Or would it be, we've got the track and then one day we'll all get together and record it, face to face? What do you do with it?
Yeah, well, this is like, I like tracks, just compiling tracks together, because just to do a kind of like an EP, a little EP sort of thing at the moment. But it should be, I think they sound pretty exciting. Even the demos sound pretty good, so I'm quite happy. And I've got better and better at it each time. It's kind of, it was the same thing doing the solo stuff, where I listened back to the early mixes I did when I was kind of learning to do it, and it's like, oh, cringe, man, that could have been so much better. But that's how you're learning that you're getting better, when you can see mistakes from what you did before, and you can see that you can do better. So that's good.
We do that when we play our podcast back. We're like, oh God, why did I say that? We suck.
What's your guitar rig like? Do you record through a pod, like through the computer, or is it all?
I at the moment I'm using Amplitude.
Right.
It's pretty good, but it's like fucking all these fucking guitar plugins. I don't really like guitar plugins, but I'm having to do it because I did have an amp mic'd up.
Yeah.
Just like an old Line 6 amp. And I mic it up with a little condenser mic.
Yeah.
And I had that set up upstairs, and that was cool to work with. And I kind of had like a duvet over that, and like a sound blocker in the front, and you can kind of get into it more with an amp. All these things, they haven't got any bite. Even though they're cool, they sound good, but with the actual playing, you can't. It's not the same feeling. But you just got to make your best with them. So I was using Amplitude. That someone gave me that, and I'm like, this is great and all, but how do I just get a cool basic guitar sound that I don't want anything that's got too many bits and pieces on it. So it took me a while just to work out and cut out all the shit and just go, okay, I want like a decent Marshall sound, maybe a little bit of extra fuzz on it, and they give you all these options of how far you want your mics away from your virtual cabinet.
It's very in depth, isn't it?
I'm a bit too fucking in depth for me. I mean, I guess you can download other people's presets, but I don't want to sound like anyone else, so I'm trying to set up my own sort of sound.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, mate, listening to your stuff and all that, I mean, you've got a fucking dirty guitar, and it's fantastic. It's filth. It's great, and it works for you. And across all the albums, I know obviously you may have recorded differently, but you're pretty consistent with your tone and your sound, which is fantastic.
To be honest, I know I've had other people say, people kind of agonise for ages nowadays over guitar tones, but I mean, I like. Really, I like it to sound like a guitar. If you know what I mean. A lot of no offense to everyone, but a lot of records I hear these days, they might as well use the fucking synth. The guitar just doesn't even sound like a guitar. I like the sound of the strings being hit.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling, and I find that's kind of going further and further ways. It becomes over processed, and it sounds like just a synth with a fuzz box on it. A lot of the guitars here. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of hasn't got any definition, if you know what I mean.
No.
I try to get that. Maintain that sort of, I guess, a bit of a kind of an extreme 70s type of feeling, I guess.
Yeah, it's got bite and it's got feeling, and
Yeah, kind of like the Stooges, early Stooges are type of. I never really thought about it, to be honest. All the Amebix stuff was go into a studio, use whatever you fucking got, plug in and play. We never even sat and thought about, oh, let's try and get an extreme guitar tone, or let's try and bring the bass up, or, you know, a bit more treble. And it just kind of, it was just how it was. You just played, amped it up and went in and played. We never even thought about it, you know?
Yeah.
There's something said for that, really, for that kind of naivety where you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you're just happy you've made a fucking noise at the end of the day, you know?
Like you say, that's punk rock.
Well, yeah, I try and maintain that even now. However, fucking, you know, it's like we've all got to. I'm not too fond of. Okay, be reasonable, but there's too much emphasis on professionalism and musicianship and things like that I'm not really interested in that kind of way.
Yeah,
I'm more interested in like heart energy and feeling. You know.
Yeah, totally. You know, I saw something the other day, and it was of all people, it was Dave Grohl, but he was saying all this fucking X Factor and all this kind of stuff. It's bollocks, you know. Nirvana were just a group of kids got in a fucking room, made a noise, and we were shit, but we got better, and that was it.
Yeah. And that's totally it. That is it. You know, because it must be hard being a kid nowadays, being in a band, because you've got so many distractions and there's so many things that you could be like. You kind of, let's start a band. What are we going to be like? We're going to be a little bit like this, a little bit like that, a little bit like that. And then we're going to have a guitar tone from here, and we're going to have a bass tone from here, and we'll get a drummer that sounds a bit like that. And you think, fuck, man, where the fuck how are you going to be original when you're completely bombarded with all this aspirations? You know what I mean? It's just like...
You've got to worry about their online presence as well these days.
Yeah.
The online presence comes before the fucking music, you know. But,
Yeah. I said, please like my page. I don't have a band yet, but
we're gonna be great.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah. One day I'm going to start a band, but I'm starting 10 years early, and I'll get enough likes up earlier on.
Yeah. If I've got enough likes to bother recording something.
Yeah. And then I'll do a crowdfunding. You can all pay for my band.
People were going to do it.
Yeah, right.
So you just released the Camden gig on cassette.
Well, I didn't release it. This guy Gian released it. But
yeah, I saw that in the note.
Yeah, he sent me a load of copies, and that's kind of like it's rough and ready. Like I kind of like it. I listened to it on headphones. He sent me because he went. It's like audience recorded, but he sent it away and had it mastered in the Bomb Factory, I guess it is in London. And I listened to it on headphones. I thought, another fucking rough ass kind of tape, but it had there's a bit of an emotional listening back to it. 'Cause you're going to hear, it's one of those things where you can hear all the people singing along and shouting and shit. It's just like being in the crowd, basically, which is it's kind of nice, rather than a desk recording one, which is cool and everything, but then you're not right in it, you know.
Yeah. You said on one of our other podcasts about people wanting physical items now, physical tapes and vinyls, and not just having a file that they hit immediately. And it's kind of nice, and you see the artwork and you see the track list and that, and it's just going back to that. And
because that whole thing, not that I've got anything against the whole download culture and that, but it's made music music almost fucking worthless now, you know. In the fact that it used to, I can remember back in the 70s, we used to, like, I'd go around to a mate's house and we'd sit and, like, you know, when we were kids, you know, and put a record on. It'd be like, no one would speak. You'd just be sitting there listening to a fucking record. No talking, man. We're sitting there listening to this record, and that's it. You sit there and you just listen to the music, and you just get completely involved in it, and you completely absorbed with it, because music, when you're that age, is everything. It's not just something that you do, it's everything, and it hits you right in the heart at that age. I think when you're a teenager and listen to music, it has a lot more meaning, I think, at that time. And I still try and get that in what I do now, despite being older and shit, you know. But I mean, you know, you kind of get back to, you think, well, why did I start doing this in the first place? We're trying to kind of, what is art? It's a way of communicating emotion, isn't it, really? So
exactly that.
That's what we try to do.
Your track on today, the Blue Moon Acid track on YouTube,
that Blood Moon Acid, that's with the 7 Crowns.
Yeah, it was like an intense sort of spectacle of music, that, and the video and everything. I had it on my TV listening today. You know, you do before you go on with someone. Yes. So I mean, your new stuff, is it going to be kind of like that, or is it just going to be?
That's a collaboration I did with Seven Crowns. So like they already had their kind of track idea down. Basically, all I'm doing on that is a bit of talk over and some background guitar noise.
Right, okay.
I realised I'm playing with them. They're all in like drop D, and I thought, how come it's so hard to play in tune with this? Oh, it's because I'm in D standard. So I was sitting there thinking, this is almost impossible to even get a note that sounds similar, but it's like because they're all in a completely different tuning than I am, but it kind of worked out in the end. I just kind of like, I listened to the track and kind of got a kind of inspired series of lyrics kind of come into my head and just kind of, I just did a bit of spoken word for them. So I mean, yeah, well, the stuff I'm doing now is heavy, but
have you got a name for the new collaboration, or is it not yet?
Yeah, I've still got to be secret squirrel about it, mate. Really, at the moment, because it's kind of it's one of those situations where I have to get on the old fucking social media donkey and do all that shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Now you know what happens with things like this is like you work on it for ages. As soon as you talk about it, I'm not saying it jinxes it, but it puts expectations from people, and then you end up being rushed into a situation where people go, "Come on, make the album already! Come on!"
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? So then you end up having to try not to people please and push something out because people want it out, when you can just take your time, finish it off, and then put it out when you're happy with it, right? Because that's why I don't talk about projects I'm doing in it and say exactly what I'm doing, because I don't want to get put in a position where people are going, come on, where's the record? Where is it? You know? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's going to be, I'm finding it pretty exciting. This is just demos I'm doing. And like, it's, I guess, guitar-wise, it's a mixture of all the things that I grew up listening to, you know, and all the things that I found exciting, you know. So and that kind of just flows through you. It's like kind of the music you listen to when you're a kid's kind of in your DNA sort of thing. So when you pick up a guitar, part of this or part of that, little things you've picked up on the way kind of come out and you're playing, like, you know.
Yeah. I was going to say to you, I read something about Amebix may have started black metal by Venom getting hold of one of your demos. Is this true? Did black metal come from Amebix? I mean, obviously
black metal. I think some aspects might have. I think I'm not saying, hey, Amebix, we're responsible for black metal, because I don't think so. Not directly. Venom. I saw Venom in '84. What was that? At Hammersmith Odeon.
Yeah.
The sound was really, really fucking bad. But I remember my brother picking up one of their first single, and that was like in the 25p box in a record shop, something they can't say. No, oh man, that must be worth a lot of money now. I think it was like Welcome to Hell or something. I thought, this is great. This is like some weird fucking kind of 70s pre-Spinal Tap type of thing. Just listen to this. This is fucking funny. And I think my brother used to write to them at one time. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they got a bit of influence off. I didn't really get an influence off them because we were already doing stuff way before that. But
so maybe the speed and sort of the darkness of it, maybe.
What have you? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think maybe some of the aesthetic somehow. I'm not really sure. I couldn't say it because people asked me before, how come you were doing these early kind of crust punk, for want of a better word, shows or whatever, and a lot of metal people were showing up, and that was happening. A lot of metal people were showing up. Whether before in the 70s, punk people and heavy metal people did not hang out together, and they did not mix at all.
Right.
So that was like, because heavy metal in the 70s was like, spandex dudes with fucking poodle haircuts singing songs about, unlikely scenarios of, devil women and naughty schoolgirls and it's kind of pants, really. It has got a lot better now.
Lick my love bum, man. It was all very Spinal Tap, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. That was like the 70s. Songs of devil women and lustful schoolgirls, and I a bit like creme brulee or something.
Brulee, mate. Oh. I've been watching those series back, man. They're so good. My missus never seen them, and I'm making her watch them, and she don't get it.
It's to be in a band. I was in a band once.
It is hard to know where it's kind of split between punk and heavy metal, isn't it, really? Some people say it was Amebix.
Well, you know, in that way, I mean, I'm just saying from my own point of view, I think metal then, and no offence to metal people now, but metal then, I used to listen to things like Thin Lizzy, you know, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. I mean, Black Sabbath to me is still the greatest heavy metal band if you want to go in that heavy metal genre, but they weren't called heavy metal when they came out. This is what we called heavy rock music at the time, and heavy rock music encompassed a huge different range of bands with different sounds. God, even the Eagles could be considered heavy rock back then. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the kind of, but heavy metal now is a lot of the heavy metal now is really comes from punk rather than the other way around. The attitude with it. I mean, a lot of it seems a lot more political, and you're actually saying something rather than, you know, songs about fucking Dungeons and Dragons and goblins and, you know what I mean? Yeah, so that's a step up.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's scenes spring up all over the place. You know, there's like a great scene in New Orleans and all that kind of stuff with I Hate God and Down and all those kind of bands. And, you know, I mean, that's quite punky in itself, you know.
Totally. I Hate God, a completely punk rock attitude. I always go and see them when they come to town. You know?
Yeah. Mike's a big fan of yours.
I like Mikey. He's lovely. He's good. I always go and see him, and he always gets me in for nothing.
We had him on the show a couple of months back, so lovely guy.
Top.
I think I met Mikey originally. We played Hellfest in Clisson, France, in 2009. And I met him there, and we kind of stayed in contact ever since because he's such a nice guy, and kind of stayed in contact with him. Kind of meet up every time he comes, and you know, have a lemonade together or whatever, you know. So
have a lemonade, yeah.
I don't drink anymore, so I mean he can do the drinking, but you know, or maybe I could stretch to an orange juice. And, you know, who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Can you ever see there being another kind of like musical explosion, as it were, like punk, and then obviously then you had the early 90s thing with the grunge and stuff. I mean, the more we're sort of controlled by our governments and CCTV and, you know, smartphones and the internet and all that, the more people will get sort of, you know, controlled and oppressed and angry, don't they? Do you think there could be another gigantic musical movement because of people's, you know?
In that kind of street level way, you mean? When it's just people picking up an instrument and doing something. I guess you got that with some of the grime music and that sort of thing. Like you got kind of kids that are sitting and making these kind of tracks at home, so that's kind of good. I'm not that I'm a massive fan of it, but I can kind of appreciate the aesthetic of you're trying to make something out of nothing, which is what punk rock was all about, as far as I'm concerned. We don't know how to do this, we don't know how to play, but let's start a fucking band anyway. And if we have to learn how to play, we can learn later on. It's just the enthusiasm to do it. One of the stumbling blocks with that now, I guess, is that everyone's a fucking wise ass, man. You want to learn about anything, go on Wikipedia and find out about it. You know what I mean? So, like, it's hard to have that kind of naivety where you just pick up and you just do it yourself because you're going to be your own self-critique because there's all these little voices coming in, you know, you should be like this, you should be like that, or this is happening, be part of that, you know. So yeah, I guess it'd be quite difficult to get that kind of street level naive, let's pick up an instrument and make a noise type of thing.
It's a whole new world, isn't it? Because like when we were kids, like you'd hear about a band, you'd buy the album, you'd play it to death till you know inside out. Now, the kids will like, an album will come out, the kid will just read a review on his phone and be like, oh no, I don't like the sound of that, I'll never buy it. Yeah.
I mean, can you remember sitting there putting an album on and just staring at the record cover and reading all the liner notes for hours and hours? That's what I used to do. I'd just get completely lost in it, and then eventually you'd work out that this producer produced this record, and then you'd look, oh, this guy, oh, Tony Visconti, okay, I'll get another of his records, something else he's done. Do you know what I mean? And that was something.
Yeah, and you'd learn about labels and all that kind of stuff.
But we weren't wise then. So the only way we got information about music was via the music press, and that was it. That was the information you could glean about. So you had no idea. When you bought a record, you'd be like kind of fantasizing, what kind of people made this music?
Yeah.
What kind of people made this music?
Yeah, the mystery of it, didn't you? You had the mystery.
How do you make a record? How do you do that? It seemed like a complete mystery, and punk rock demystified the process of making a record. Because, you know, for me growing up, it was like, how do you even make a record? How does that happen? How do you do it, you know? So it took a lot of that kind of like, it's a great mystical art out of it and kind of democratized it for people and made everyone able to have a go at it. Mm. But I don't know if you're going to get, we don't have the tribalism we had then, do we?
No, I'm wondering though whether there could be something. I mean, it would be hard because as soon as, like you say, like you were talking about not even saying the name, because as soon as you would start something, oh, well fucking knows, don't they?
Yeah.
So as soon as you try to start it, everyone would know and be like, then you get the criticism, then the head would go down. And then
you get the criticism.
You fuck it off, don't you? Don't do it. So, it would be difficult. It would have to be a completely non-internet driven thing, wouldn't it? It'd have to be like an underground scene where you're not allowed to take your phone in to see this fucking music. I'm excited about it, and I don't think it exists. Do you know what I mean?
That'd be cool. I think you'd have to set up some kind of internet jammer at the door or something. Yeah. So if people did do their phones, they couldn't live stream the gig. And it would wipe their phone memory on the way out or something.
I think that Kanye West, he took everyone's phone off and put them in the locker and said, you're not coming in to one of his gigs unless you haven't got your phone. Yeah, well, which is pretty cool.
Tool do the same thing. You're not allowed in to see Tool if you've got your phone. You have to put it in a little bag. It goes in a locker.
Is it? I saw Tool a few times a day. I had my phone out.
No,
you just snuggle your phone in.
Now, like on the last tour, it was like, well, no, you couldn't go. You couldn't record any of it. You couldn't do any of that.
That's fair though, really, if you think about it, because I mean, if they paid to see you, I guess you're thinking about that's covering payment costs. Really, you're paying for a ticket, so you assume you paid for a ticket, you can record the gig for fuck all and stick it up on YouTube in bad quality. I don't know where I stand on a lot of these things.
Yeah,
because everyone expects you to do everything for fucking nothing.
Yeah,
and really, I mean, if you're an artist, you need canvas, you need paint, so you need to have a small turnover to buy new canvases and paint, and paintbrushes. If you're a musician, you need to be able to buy new guitar strings and make sure your amp works and, all the other myriad fuckeries that goes with it,
Yeah.
And then people complain if you charge for something. I don't know. So that was another thing that was really the downfall of punk, in the way that we didn't have money coming into punk. We had money going out of punk and going to major record labels, but we didn't have it coming back into our scene and creating something for ourselves, really.
Yeah.
Properly, a proper monetary...
Well, you guys were all technically homeless as well, wasn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You all lived in squats, didn't you, in the early days? And, what advice would you give to like the 19, 20-year-old homeless person like living on the street now? Could you give any advice, even consider it? I mean, you've lived it and done it a long time ago, but
I don't really know. There isn't. What advice can you give to someone when you're in that situation? There isn't really anything that you can kind of say about it. Can you say, well, don't do drugs, don't drink? What the fuck else are you going to do? You're on the fucking ass. You're on your ass and you're on the street. You're going to do drugs and drink just to keep you alive. Otherwise, you're just going to go fucking mad. It's something you can't really, when you're out of it, you can't really offer anyone advice still in it. I mean, some people are on the street, and a lot of, back in those days of the squatting thing, a lot of the people we would kind of be like father figures to a lot of these young kids that were turning up from abused family backgrounds, like violent sexual abuse and things like that would turn up, and it was a sense of family for them outside the abusive family situation they had before. So we're all living in different squats not far from each other. We're all going around hanging out at each other's places. So you have a sort of familial type of atmosphere with that, particularly for people that have come from really abusive backgrounds and that. So that it gave them something. I guess, well, you can't squat anymore anyway. If you're on the street, you're either freezing your ass off on the street or you're stuck in the fucking homeless shelter. And there isn't any, there isn't any way you can create anything for yourself. You're either going to be out on the street in the proverbial cardboard box, or you're going to be stuck in the shelter and you're going to be in the system. So you're not going to develop anything outside the system because you're in the fucking system. At least with squatting, you can develop something outside. You can start a place to play gigs and rehearse or
community. Yeah,
that sort of thing. Yeah. So I couldn't really. I mean, also, drugs is the thing. When I was growing up, drugs weren't everywhere like they are now. I mean, you can just order your fucking drugs on the internet now. It's it's harder for kids now in a way, in the fact that they're bombarded with all this shit all the time, and it's not outsider thing anymore. It's commonplace.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything's on demand, isn't it?
Yeah. You go to the pub, see a load of chavs fucking snorting lines of coke in the toilet or whatever, like normal people. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a thing for weirdos and outsiders anymore. It's a thing that everyone does to a certain extent, So that must be difficult for kids growing up now. And also, how do you disappear these days? It's hard to disappear now,
Impossible, isn't it? I think it's only like, what was it someone was saying, it's only like seriously rich people that can sort of dig their way out of the mainframe of society and go off grid.
Yeah, but
it'd be fucking impossible. If you just randomly tried to go off grid, you'd just get picked up by the police or whatever, wouldn't you? And just interrogated. Like, they'd be like, "What are you doing here?
Yeah,
at society.
Yeah, exactly.
Help, we're gonna fucking take you."
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, you can't even disappear now. If you're a kid and you want to escape to an abusive home environment, it's like you couldn't really even just go off grid. You can't even disappear because
you're on every fucking camera from here to London, aren't you? You're on,
So like that,
every phone's picking you up. Every shop window's filming you. Every bus is filming you. Every tube is filming you. You're driving behind a car, fucking speed cameras giving you a ticket, a parking ticket. You are listed.
Yeah. So you can't get out of the system in the same way that we were able to, in that kind of way. Yeah, you go into a squat, the cops come around to bust a squat, people are hiding out the back or whatever, they can't find who they're looking for because we weren't all on camera all the time then, and our movements weren't tracked so much. We used to go down and sign on, no fixed abode, like, once a week, once every 2 weeks, you go down there and you scribble on a bit of paper and they'd give you your money over the counter. Yeah. And then you just fuck off and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not quite like that anymore. Everything's become more and more constricted. The parameters of the reality have become smaller and smaller, and the things you can and can't do are becoming...
Honestly, mate, you only got to open your eyes and you're hemorrhaging money from the minute you open your eyes. You open your eyes and you hemorrhage money and you're in that system, aren't you, until the second you go to sleep. And you're still in it, and when you're asleep, your fucking heating bill's still going off.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, and then there's your fucking internet to pay every week, and then you got to wake up in the morning. You wake up, brush your teeth, and then go out the door. And now you got to wake up, plug 20 different fucking devices in to charge them overnight. And oh my god, my phone's not charged up. Oh shit, Oh
yeah. If I don't have my phone, it's not charged. I'll literally die.
Yeah, it's like I've lost a limb. What am I going to do? Yeah.
My brain will have to think for itself.
Yeah, but the thing is that even if you don't take your phone out now, or you decide just to go, oh fuck this shit, then the whole of society is geared towards you having your phone. Yeah. So, and you can't fucking do hardly anything without it now. So we're fucking locked into the old matrix, aren't we? Really.
It's kind of stuff in you guys, your lyrics back in the 80s about the system and everything, and it's only really got worse, hasn't it?
It's kind of a lot. It's kind of
predictions, really.
Yeah, kind of horribly true. That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob used to write some really good lyrics, and you think, okay, are there a certain view of the time we're in now, or a possible future timeline, which is, it's not good. I'm not. Yeah. It's just becoming more and more and more restrictive. Like we're talking about, trying to start a musical thing off that was genuinely outside the system, like how we started things. I don't know if you can do anything outside the system anymore, and that's depressing as fuck, really. Yeah, what can you do outside the system?
Nothing.
Not a lot, really.
I was actually going to say, do you think, like they're saying, like there's going to be like an AI, well, already happening, artificial intelligence revolution, where AI is integrated so much that humans become even more lazy and more kind of redundant, and the artificial intelligence does everything for you.
Yeah.
And do you think that could spell the end of, like workplaces, having a job where you go there and there's a load of other humans and you all interact, and it's coming in. Is it going to phase out? A relationship's going to phase out between people, physical relationships. A mass event's going to fade out. I don't know.
It's already happening, isn't it? That really.
You get the feeling it's kind of in there.
Well, yeah. What's AI going to do with you? You're just a fucking useless eater, man. Really, you know what I mean? You're just a useless eater. You're just taking up space, man. A machine can do it for you, or do it, and then what you're going to do? You're going to have a whole nation of morbidly obese, tube-fed fucktards. I don't know, really, but it's like we're already in a situation where we are part cybernized.
Yeah.
We're already there.
Well, it's in your hand, isn't it? The phone's in your hand, but
yeah,
when's it going to be where it's fucking in you? And you can't just throw that phone in the bin.
Well, I mean, jab yet?
No, I haven't had my jab. I haven't, no. And I'm pretty...
But, like, people are talking about, people getting, RFID chips. You don't need an RFID chip. They don't need to do that. You go everywhere with your fucking phone. You don't need to put a chip in someone. Yeah? You voluntarily carry your fucking chip round with you in your hand all day long, People are going to stick a chip in my hand with my bank details and shit. It's already on your phone anyway.
Yeah.
It's just you're given the kind of the illusion that this is like voluntary when you have to do it anyway. It's all there already. So I mean, they don't really need to put a chip in your hand. All they got to do is keep you addicted to diddling around on your fucking phone all day.
And if you don't, and you don't use your phone every day and the computers, and you won't get informed about anything via email or socially or anything, and you gradually will just fall down and down by the wayside until you're just a little hermit indoors. And like you say, AI is not going to want you. Like, it's just fuck you right off, won't it?
Surplus the requirements, but like
surplus, yeah. Surplus the requirements.
Surplus the requirements. If you don't serve the AI god, you can fuck off, you puny humans. That's right.
Sarah Connor. Fucking shotgun in your face.
Yeah, that's right.
He loves it.
But like as for the we get that. I have these things where I just decide not to go on Facebook for a while until I shut my account down, because all that polarity and that just fucks my head up. And you got like, you haven't had your vaccination yet. You're an anti-vaxxer. You're a conspiraloon. Nothing's kind of like thought out. Everyone's just going, if you believe that, then you must be one of them. And if you think this, then you must be one. There isn't any individualism left. Everything's become, so you're either left wing or right wing. You can't believe one thing from one party and one thing from another. You've got to believe this thing or that thing. And it's that kind of polarity.
Invented that name now, isn't they? It's conspiracy theorists, which basically means if you think anything against the government, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's like,
that is what's going on.
Thinking about things, just like trying to think things from the other side.
How dare you fucking question reality?
You go against it. You're a conspiracy theorist. I've got a name for you now.
Yeah, exactly, and that. And no one wants to hear what you got to say because you're a conspiraloon. No one wants to hear what you got to say because you must believe we got flat Earth.
Yeah.
Because that's the polarity we live in. If you believe this thing, then you must believe that thing also.
Yeah.
So you can't. It's hard to be an individual because you're going to get bracketed and then you're going to get labelled as this or that. So I try and stay in the middle of these things, but yeah.
Yeah, me too. I don't go down conspiracy wormholes or anything.
No, but you can.
I do question things.
Well, yeah.
And I'm no conspiracy now.
We all question things.
You want to be careful with that questioning things, shit, man. It'll get you in a lot of trouble.
Did you see the guitarist from Deftones? He come out as a flat earther, and the abuse he was getting on the internet was hilarious. To be honest with you, it was funny.
Yeah. But then you have to think about that. Do you remember when? You see all this trolling and shit and people talking shit online and that, in the old days, if you spoke like that, no one would dare speak to you like that in the street. It's an old-fashioned smack in the mouth would tend to stop you doing that. Do you know what I mean? But we're in a consequence-free environment where people can talk shit about each other all day long anonymously and not have to kind of face the consequences of that. You know what I mean? So people are unpleasant, and all their inner monologue and demons and projections all comes up. There's some really fucked up people online, to be honest. It shows the real ugly side of humanity.
They don't even have a name or a profile picture. They just come on there, abuse you, and fuck off.
Yeah.
That's what they live for. They just want to upset people to amuse themselves. And
there is a lot of that, but you know that. You look into it and you think, well, that guy's an unpleasant asshole. Yeah, he's an unpleasant asshole, but he's obviously a very sad, lonely, and a pathetic person. That's the only way you can get your jollies is just by winding people up and talking shit about people, about things that you probably learnt from fucking Wikipedia anyway. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. I mean, really, you go on the social media. I think is really a kind of a dangerous thing. When I was doing my solo tracks, and I spent ages recording the track, and then I'd put it up, and I'd get loads of likes and nice comments underneath it, and I'd kind of think, hang on a minute, this reminds me of something. What's this feeling? It's like, it's an echo of something. It's drugs. It's a drug. It's a drug.
Yeah.
Be careful. It's a fucking drug.
Yeah.
It's a drug. It's a drug. It's a drug. It's a drug. It's a fucking 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 drug.
I had a little phone call with Chris Neal, Disorder, Boobs.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah. We was talking, and then we had a phone call because he's going to start a podcast in Madrid. He lives in Madrid, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's gonna call it the Self Saboteurs, and he's gonna talk with his bandmate, with other, Madrid musicians and stuff. He said you inspired because he come on our and he's like, you've inspired me to do my own podcast, and cool. So excited for him. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
nice.
I asked him to do a few questions for you.
Oh, no.
Number one, quite funny. Stig, do you feel disappointed for not being born into landed gentry? If you had, what sort of power structure would you hold over your serfs? Authoritarian, or would you be more open to a horizontal power structure?
What is a horizontal power structure?
I don't know. It's classic, isn't it?
A horizontal power structure. Ooh. I mean, as I don't know what the horizontal power structure, I'd probably be a real evil authoritarian. Nah. I don't know. I wouldn't have serfs, man. I'd have fellow workers. There you go.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, right answer. Next.
Next, okay. Question 2 from Chris Neal. What was it about bacon bite donuts that you freely chose to live on and nothing else for months on end? And how did you manage to stay so thin?
No, they were like the he's talking about. I'll tell you a story about donuts. Right, we were living on down on Argyle Road, and we were living in this little basement flat right next door to this like Jamaican blues, where these old guys would be banging the dominoes all night and knocking it back, you know. And we used to go down to like Tesco's, and they actually used to lock their skips, and we used to have to bust the lock off, and whoever had the unpleasant duty of climbing into the skip with all the sugary shit sticking to you and pulling out fucking bin bags full of donuts and stuff like that, and we kind of lugged them all the way home.
This is exactly what you said to me, actually. You said you had about 300 cakes and loaves of bread and stuff like that every day.
We lived on that. Anyway, we bought these huge sacks of donuts home and like put them on the floor in the kitchen, and we ate a few of them. And then everyone just got sick of eating fucking donuts after a bit, so we left these bags, and the donuts started to rot and get white mold on them, you know, and the bags started to look like the pods in Alien. You know, they're just like, all solid. And I left them out there, and then Disorder came around one day, and there was loads of this Nepalese temple ball around. And Disorder came around, we were all smoking this Nepalese temple ball, and we were getting completely fucked up. And then this kid, one of the kind of local punk kids, comes walking in, and he goes, he comes in, and he's got this white kind of dust around his mouth. He goes, Stig, I really like those donuts, man, especially the ones with the icing on. I was going, they're not iced donuts, mate. That's not icing.
That's not frosting.
That's not frosting. That's something else. If you have like stuff in his face with these donuts that have been there for months and months, and all the jelly and stuff coming out the bottom of the bag. But it was dark, didn't have any electric, so you couldn't see what he was eating.
Is he still alive?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, he works for Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
In Bristol.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't eat all the donuts, put it that way.
His third question is that he said that he missed seeing ZYGOTE, your other band after Amebix.
Yeah.
And he missed seeing them live as he was failing to get his life back together, and he feels that he missed out on something. And how was ZYGOTE for you, and what would he like about them?
ZYGOTE was, we had a good time all the time in ZYGOTE. You know, it was kind of like, we partied pretty fucking hard in that.
On it.
Yeah, we kind of pushed the boundaries of what. Yeah, sometimes I don't really listen to a lot of ZYGOTE stuff, but I listen to my vocals and I can hear I'm like I'd play gigs and I'd be singing, and I don't really like fronting bands too much. So I like being in bands, but I kind of don't like being responsible for the front man shit, you know. So I used to kind of do it. Me and George used to kind of do a song each or whatever, but you know, sometimes I thought my kidneys were going to fucking explode singing in that band. Really, Yeah, we had some crazy times though. ZYGOTE was like, it was like a kind of, you know, I play in the same kind of way I play, but we had like two guitars, so I didn't have to fill in all the spaces with noise like I usually do. So it gave me a bit of a chance to try and sing, which is, I don't know. I don't think I'm a great singer, to be honest. But ZYGOTE, we had a good time. It was like starting again. You start another band, you have to kind of build up a following of people, and you have to play a lot. So we played a lot of things like, you know, like hardcore festivals like Trevorgy, 89, we played there, and that's infamous festival where, you know, if you look that up online, it's like a dust bowl of drugs, dysentery and depravity and death. I think that's what it said about us. But we had a great time. Yeah. So I mean, ZYGOTE was kind of like, well, I'm not saying it was Amebix because it's not. It's a different group.
No.
It was a mixture of different influences, of different people who were interested in different types of music. So it was all loud and blary, and as far as I can remember, a lot of it was fun, but there's a lot of it I can't remember. You know, it was hazy. Yeah.
That album got remastered, didn't it?
Yeah.
That because I don't want to admit it, but I did listen to that remastered version on my iTunes.
Oh, is that the last one that you? Because it's been released. The Wind of Knives thing got released a few times over the years, and someone got in contact with us to do a nice vinyl version. because there's been a few rough-ass versions out there, and I guess you get this situation where things end up, these days everyone's got a remaster for digital, so you're getting the remaster of the remaster of the remaster of the remaster, and I don't know what happens with that, but I think everyone really enjoyed it. So
you released it as a vinyl in the US, didn't you, first time, or was that
the... Yeah, I did that. That was the first US release of it. It was only a little small limited run though.
Yeah.
And the guy did a good job on it. The art's nice. The actual vinyl looks nice, and it's kind of like a, what do they call it? My brain's completely gone numb there. I don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah, when it's like memorabilia. That's the word.
Yeah.
In that kind of way,
Amebix live in Slovenia.
Yeah.
That was in that. What year was that? In the 80s, 89 or something, wasn't it?
87, I think.
87, yeah.
86 or 87. Yeah.
What's it like going to, like, say, the Eastern Bloc back in the 80s, like, playing gigs? I mean, if you can tell us any stories from that.
That was pretty fucking intense, and we played in Slovenia. But now all the borders are all different now, aren't they? So we played in Slovenia, we played in Sarajevo as well. But this is before all the war and all the genocide there. But
Yugoslavia, yeah.
But you could feel the fucking tension in the air. You could feel something was going to happen. We went to this bar. This guy took us to this bar, and we didn't speak, Slovenian, Yugoslavian, whatever. We didn't speak it. So we're like in this bar, and we're just sitting there having a drink, and this guy kind of comes up. And he just leans and he talks to the guy we're with, and he's just kind of whispering at him, It's really gentle, but you feel like a kind of like a really violent kind of undercurrent there, Yeah, we had a good time playing the gig. Was kind of cool, but even playing that gig, you could see blood and people were getting smashed against the barriers, and there's a lot of pent up aggression, like north south. People hate each other from these different regions. And it was a real, I mean, Sarajevo, the actual gig in Sarajevo was more peaceful than the one we played in Slovenia. But that was an interesting place to visit with these ancient old medieval, castles and things. It's quite an amazing place. Yeah, that was. But you'd go and play those places. Like when we were doing the movies, when we were playing in Italy, you'd play like down south in Italy, and you feel like you could just be disappeared, and no one know what the fuck happened to you.
Fucking hell. Really,
like people go play places now, and you go there, and like bands have been there before. People are kind of used to it. But back in those days, going down and playing some of those places, you feel like you could die or something could happen to you. It was pretty hairy ass. When we were in when we were in Italy, we played in Bologna. This is in the really early 80s. This is about 82, 83. I think when we were playing down in Bologna. And me and my brother were just kind of like, we were outside this record distribution place we were staying in, and we were just like writing on the wall, having a bit of a laugh. And then we were kind of like just standing there writing on the wall, and I felt this dunk, like thing stabbing in the bottom of my back. And I turned around, and there's a guy there with a fucking Uzi machine gun stuck in my spine.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, and they're two off-duty, plainclothes cops. You don't know if they're fucking gangsters or what the fuck they are. Kind of like, young kind of dudes, both with a fucking Uzi, and they just arrest us, take us down the police station, and all we can hear is this guy being beaten to death in the next cell, and the chair's being smashed, proper old school, like, violence going on. Thinking they took all our passports off us, and it took us a long time and all they wanted to know was whether what we were spraying on the wall was political or not.
Right. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, it was very right-wing, very, very...
If they could get a reason to keep hold of you, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you see swastikas sprayed on walls, but it wasn't by kids. It was by actual people that were around in the wall, still into it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's really. And then you got all that kind of mafia shit going on as well. It's kind of crazy down there. A lot of hairy ass times doing those early gigs where you're playing places where no one else has ever played before. We're going where no man has gone before.
What, did you all jump in a van, or was it on the rail, or what?
It was literally like just carrying your guitars on a train, or then getting a van somewhere. Yeah, you have to get a train from Milan right down to places like these little places in the middle of nowhere where it's like something out of The Godfather, probably.
And that was in the 80s, so like,
yeah, and
no one would know where the fuck you were unless you found a payphone job.
Yeah, and the cops killing you. It's another one died, so what? Yeah, it's like some of those things were pretty scary. You think, fuck, anything could happen to you. And it's not like now where everyone knows where you are. They could say anything, you know. Pretty corrupt and quite scary.
You could all just be propping up some highway road somewhere.
Exactly. Serving a useful purpose. Be constructive.
Oh, yeah. There probably is a few people under that motorway, isn't there?
Well, he never had a job, but at least support the local motorway structure. That's great. Your highlight in life.
Stig, let me ask this question. We always ask this question. What was the first gig you ever went to?
Hawkwind and the Pink Fairies.
Right.
1974. I was 12 or 13.
And
back when Lemmy was in Hawkwind.
Yeah.
That was I can't really even describe how that opened up things in my head. Like, you know, it's like, okay, got to go to fucking school. They've got a horrible, drab, grey reality mapped out for me if I actually do manage to get out of school. And then it's like, I went to see this thing. It's like the Pink Fairies and Hawkwind. And it's just like colour and light and sound. And I just thought, you know, fuck this normal life shit. It's not going to work for me. I've got to do something like this. That was what made me want to start doing music, really. Just seeing these fucking outrageous fucking lunatics. They were punk rock as fuck, Hawkwind, man, back then. And Pink Fairies, yeah, proper kind of.
Well, a lot of people. It was their first gig on our podcast. You're about the third or fourth person.
Yes, yeah.
It was Hawkwind. They must have done a lot of touring. they got round to a lot of people, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I saw Hawkwind and I played with Hawkwind. Since then, in other bands like ZYGOTE and things like that, but it's obviously a revolving lineup change. Yeah. But that was, I think, Hawkwind at the proper peak of the psychedelic fucking madness. You know what I mean? You got Stacey era that with a huge tits out with all this crazy fucking paint all over and all this mad shit going on. You're like 12, 13 years old going,
gobsmacked.
It's just like sensory overload, you know. And it's music, just like, I think I've got to do something like this. I want to do some music, man. Yeah, let's do that. It's better than, you know, getting a job or any of that kind of shit that they wanted you to do back then. So, I mean, yeah, you could blame them for all my troubles in life, really.
That's living the dream, though, isn't it? You know, being inspired by Lemmy and then fucking starting bands and just doing that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, being inspired by that whole thing and you know, the Pink Fairies as well. I mean, musically, you weren't really able to take it in that kind of way. It's just this huge experience that's happening to you because you don't understand music very well when you're really young like that. I didn't know how to make music, so yeah. This thing was just something that feeling of kind of limitless possibility, you know. It's amazing. But you know, you couldn't even really actually remember it, how it was done. But these amazing light shows as well. You turn up at this place and there'll be someone handing out wads of joss sticks and like the whole place would just smell of incense. It was like you could hardly see through the smoke and everyone's just getting chonged out of their minds. And you're like there as a kid going, this is just wow. This is the grown up world I want. You know? And the other one they got mapped out for me, I don't want that. I want this. This is good, you know.
Yeah.
So your fans out there that may listen to our DIY podcast at some point, maybe, they probably want us to ask if Amebix or ZYGOTE will ever play again live and do another on that album. So we're asking it. Could it happen?
I don't know. Really, it's like. I never say never about these things, you know what I mean? It's like, you never, you know, I've done that before, we'll never do this again, and then I end up going back on my word and looking like a twat because, you know, I've gone back on it and it's become a possibility or it's become an exciting possibility, you know? The point is to be exciting and try and maintain, all this internet shit, to try and maintain that band dynamic, which is quite hard to do, particularly if you don't live in each other's pockets. When you're in a band, you're kind of like, if you're living in a squat together or you're living in the same kind of space, it's easier to kind of have agreement on things because it's like we're talking about this thing with the internet communication. You're not in the same room, and even though we're communicating now, we're kind of in the same virtual room, but we're not actually living in each other's pockets. So it's hard to get that us against the world mentality that you need in a band nowadays, as there's so many other fucking distractions. So, I mean, this is why at the moment I tend to just I like kind of working on my own, doing these things. Yeah, and I'll get sent something and then I'll work out things. And you also got to deal with the self-doubt thing about, is it good enough? It's only my ears listening to it, whatever. But you kind of do need feedback from what you do. So the good thing about being in a band in that, when you live in each other's pockets, is you're all talking about ideas all the time. You're sitting in a room and someone's writing a lyric down while you're talking or whatever. There's got that kind of flow going on. So it's quite a difficult thing to do a band when you don't live close to each other even. Yeah. But, I'm not saying never about any of these things. ZYGOTE, I don't really see that happening again. I don't particularly, and I don't want to do any of these things without the original lineup. I think that's kind of dishonest. You see these bands and they're calling themselves this band, and they've got like one guy that was in the original band,
Yeah. He was a roadie.
Yeah, he was a roadie for the original band. Now he's the lead singer. Okay, and you're still calling it the same name as your band was called when none of you are in the band anymore. So I mean, it's hard to maintain some fucking integrity these days, but that's important to me. ZYGOTE, I don't know. I mean, everyone's still alive as far as I know. Last I heard, but I don't. I think I don't see the point in going back on the past in that way. But there's a possibility, but it wouldn't be just for like, if you had something else to say and you could say it, and it was a possibility to do, or more to the point, you've got to have fun doing it. It's got to be enjoyable, otherwise you might as well just work in a fucking bank.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what's the difference between
work from home?
Yeah, work from home, which is kind of what I'm doing this way. I mean, I'm sitting here like typing away and labeling shit and making sure this sounds all right and making sure that sounds all right. But I had something much more cosmic in mind when I started doing this. But there you go. At least I'm doing music, which is something.
It's still there, smashing out the riffs.
Yeah, still living the dream, mate.
Smashing out the riffs in a virtual styley.
Do you still enjoy playing guitar as much as you always have?
I do still enjoy it, and I'm kind of developing new kind of styles. They're all very simple. All my stuff, it's nothing that I play is very complicated. But I like that in the fact that I never bothered to learn anything, even the basics of playing guitar. I mean, I've just learned to kind of make this sound on it, and I kind of like I've kind of improved on that basic sound. But I've never actually gone into learning about chords or scales or any of those things. Because I think when you learn too much of that, it takes the mystery out of it. And I kind of like that feeling of putting my fingers on the guitar and not actually knowing what sounds are going to come out until I played it. And that's obviously a bit more scope. I like that feeling of being in the unknown area, Yeah.
No, I've never seen pictures of you playing live or anything, I'll be honest with you, but you look like a Les Paul man to me.
I can rock a Les Paul. I do like SGs though.
Right, yeah.
I like kind of like SGs. But I was doing some project with someone a while back, and I was using a Les Paul, and I had to admit that even though I haven't got a huge thing for Les Pauls, it had a bit more drive than SG. I didn't have to play quite so hard. That was quite good. That was quite a good thing. I had kind of the pickups really drove it a bit more when you don't have to use just your hand to make it really move. That was cool. That was quite that was interesting playing it. It had that kind of drive. I'm used to playing like SGs or cheap SG copies. Beat the shit out of it to get a sound out of it. Yeah. I'm used to playing crap guitars, so if anyone gives me a good one, I either break it or it's like or the strings break or something goes wrong because I'm bending it too much or hitting it too hard. So yeah, I can do a Les Paul. Yeah, I can do a Les Paul. Epiphone Les Paul, maybe.
I play Epiphones, you know. I ain't got enough money for a Gibson, but I love
It's fucking great, man. The guitar I used to track Sonic Mass cost me £200 in Guitar Center in LA. $200, brand new. And it has the basic shit pickups that they give you with it, but it has a kind of a naive charm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a beginner's guitar.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Well, I mean, what's the difference really, you know, between Epiphone and Gibson? I mean, Epiphones, you know, obviously are made factories and like, you know, a lot cheaper bit of parts or whatever, but you can always swap out the pickups for the
I think that the only thing I noticed with the SGs is the weight feels a little bit different from a genuine SG and an Epiphone, and that's all I can really say about that.
Yeah,
and some of the inlays maybe a bit putty and things like that, but I mean, yeah, it's really, you know, I've always used pretty cheap guitars. I've never had really expensive guitars or rigs on it, so I can pretty much make a noise on whatever I get given. It's kind of works, you know. I'm kind of used to using whatever I can get. So yeah. I'm happy to use an Epiphone. It's fine. I don't need a real SG, and I don't need a, you know, it's fine with me.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. It's down to how you play it, isn't it?
Yeah. I was talking to someone else about it, and they're saying that most about guitar playing is not in your fingers on fretboard hand, it's in your hitting hand. So that's really it. Yeah. So I tend to use really very soft picks, like 60s, like these little Jim Dunlop things, 60 mils, because I hit strings very hard. So I tend to use a softer pick. And I don't use real thick, heavy strings either. I just use like 11 to 52s. Right. They seem fine. I'm happy with that. You know, every time I use too thick strings, it's kind of got a different type of tone. I prefer to use kind of something basic, simple like that. Seems to work anyway.
Oh, nice.
The track Sonic Mass 1 that you wrote, Stig, where did that come from? It's just phenomenal, isn't it? It's like one of Pink Floyd's greatest songs, isn't it? But it's amazing. Of Sonic Mass 1, and then Sonic Mass 2 goes into a hard driven fast track, which is also
the acoustic piece.
Yeah,
that was
something else. That riff.
I kind of get ideas from things, and I can see where I got the idea from. Not the sound, not the sound of it or the playing, but the feeling of it. Right, was when I was thinking of it. Do you know the Who track, Pinball Wizard?
Yeah.
Remember the intro to it? It goes down, down, before he starts ding, 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 before it starts kind of kicking into you. But I really like that weird kind of classical way that it changes tone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to play anything like that, but I thought, I wonder if I can make something that has that kind of, that dropped sort of chord feeling, you know? Yeah. And that was what kind of, you know, it's like something like The Darkest Hour. That, the idea for that, the guitar riff for that was really a kind of a feeling of like The End by The Doors, that kind of droning type of feel. Mm-hmm. I can see it, but no one else can see it. So I'm giving away my fucking secrets here.
Yeah, I took it from here and took it from there. Everyone does that though, don't they? When you talk to people,
it's not the riff, it's the feel.
The feel, yeah, gives you the inspiration for the track.
Like everyone else, so I think I'd love to be able to do something that had that kind of sort of a classically type of feeling. If you listen to the first few chords of intros to Pinball Wizard, you'll see, you can maybe work out that I kind of got a kind of feel from that, a sort of feeling like that. But
it's a fantastic track. I just wanted to mention that because...
Oh, thank you.
We listened to it yesterday in his garden while we were cooking pizzas. we listened to you all day.
Actually, we did. We went through the whole...
I recorded it. That's like, I was learning to record, and I had like GarageBand and like this little interface thing, and I had like an acoustic that had a plug-in, like a plug-in acoustic, and I was just kind of doodling around. I sat there and I thought, wow. And I managed to record this piece. And when I first did it, I put all these diddly, stupid bits on it. But I just kind of stripped it down just to the basic acoustic riff. And I was up there with my brother, and he worked out this lovely vocal line that really fit nicely around it. And that was cool, because I couldn't see how a vocal would fit with it, but he managed to make something that sounded really good.
He did, yeah. I mean, it's a great album, and Roy on the drums. It's a great album, and I even went back and looked at some of the reviews for when it came out at the time. Yeah, that was really good feedback and really good reviews of that album, isn't there? pretty much all of them.
I think so. I don't really read a lot of reviews. It kind of freaks me out. And you get this. It's nice to see that things affect people on an emotional level. And I think that record has elements of all the things I kind of grew up listening to, and all the things that we felt about music. And my brother and myself, and and Roy, obviously, he's got an experienced background going back in music, and he grew up listening to this and that as a kid. And those things that you grew up listening to when you're young kind of stay in you.
Yeah.
It was good that I think we managed to get that feeling of like a 70s album type of feel, where you've got not a concept so much, but it's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you get to the end of it, and we were saying it yesterday, like, well, when's the next one then?
Yeah.
It's just like, why has it been 10 years?
I haven't actually listened to it since it came out, but I remember listening to the roughs when we were doing it, thinking, how the fuck are we going to link this all up together to be one thing? Because there's all disparate parts. It's all very different. And you got hard and soft and like dark and kind of almost light. But I think there's, when I'll have to give it a listen again, I've got like a CD copy, but I never listened to the stuff that I've done. It's not through not wanting to. It's just like, I think, okay, that's done, now on to the next one.
You move on quick. Right.
As far as I remember, that was a record that come to me, listening to it, encompasses Hawkwind even, encompasses Black Sabbath, it encompasses all those things without being either one of those things. It encompasses all the things we grew up listening to, including, like picked guitar music and all sorts of things. And I think I was pleased Roy managed to really do a really good job on arranging the order of those tracks so it flowed in a nice way. He's very clever at that sort of thing.
Yeah, it does. It is a journey. The album is a journey.
Yeah, it's like watching a film.
And his synth work on it is fantastic as well. It was like Amebix updated for this time, So I think it resonates. So I'm happy with the way that came out. And
Rob sounds great on that album as well, doesn't he?
He does. He does sound. He's great. I mean, Rob, all nepotism aside, my brother Rob is one of the fucking true great lyricists, in my humble opinion, and has been consistently. He's always been able to write this. I don't have that lyrical skill. I can write riffs. That's what I do. But he is a real great lyricist, real thought-provoking, emotional lyrics, kind of cinematic, where you can kind of see it in your head when you're listening to the words. He's very good at that.
And then that's all rugged punk rock vocals as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Roy drum for Soulfly back at the Astoria back in the day when he was in Soulfly.
Oh wow, yeah.
With Max, on their first tour, on their first Soulfly album, I saw Roy play at the Astoria with Limp Bizkit supporting.
Limp Bizkit supporting, oh no.
Yeah, so that was a fucking awesome gig. But yeah. We'll let you go because we've badgered you well enough.
Yeah.
But thanks for talking to us.
We got the important donut questions out of the way, which is good, man.
Yeah, no.
But what about the donuts? What about the
What about the frosting?
What about the frosting? Yeah, I can't even remember that kid's name today, but I mean, he had a whole face full of something that wasn't frosting.
Yeah, I'm just in bed tonight worrying that guy might not be alive.
He probably caught some weird, bizarre disease off that shit. I mean, because we hadn't touched them, we wouldn't go near them.
Yeah, he might have started this pandemic. Well, let's say no more about that. Eh?
No, I said to Hobo, we're not talking about the pandemic on this one.
Say no more.
Yeah. Say no more. So we left it. Yeah, no, thanks so much, Stig.
No worries, man.
It's been a pleasure. Really interesting guy and brilliant music. So I'll give you a message in a minute because I want to ask you a couple of things.
All right, brilliant. Nice talking to you, chaps.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
lying buried dead. Buried dead. Buried dead. Oh, you godless men, I see you're here again. Enemies and friends, when will we be released? Be released. Be released. When will we be released? When will we be released? When will we be released?
Daddy, it's getting dark.